It's about as easy as it gets. What's going on, everyone? My name is Talon Sai and you are watching Sunday Gun Day. I hope you're all having a great Sunday so far. Today we're taking a look at a new product from Smith & Wesson that should be pretty easy to recommend to a very large portion of anyone who might be interested. From people who are already proficient or are just fairly normal recreational shooters like myself, to brand new shooters who maybe have never even handled a gun before, and even those who may have strength or dexterity deficiencies. The name of this one really explains it all, so we are going to take a look at the new M&P 9 Shield Easy. Being built for personal and home protection, the new M&P 9 Shield Easy is the latest addition to the 2.0 family. This is a single stack 9mm pistol with 8-in-1 capacity and a barrel length just over the 3.6 inch mark. Now for what makes this gun easy, literally meaning easy to operate. The slide is extremely easy to rack, especially with the enlarged rear serration towards the back of the slide. Being an M&P, it of course comes with the 18-degree grip angle, making it a natural point of aim for most people, and you'll also notice a grip safety back there. Speaking of safety, this is the version without the manual thumb safety, but you can opt for the other version if you wish, and the whole gun disassembles without the need to pull the trigger, which for someone who might be new around guns is a very nice touch. To top off the easy name, the mags that it came with have load assist tabs, which I think almost everyone can appreciate. The whole package comes in with an MSRP of right around the $480 mark, but I wouldn't be surprised if you could find it for a little bit underneath that. Now I'm going to start this test by legit loading these magazines so I can show you the quick access tabs. I know it's not the most exciting thing ever, but like I mentioned, I believe that everyone can appreciate this. Those people in the beginning, like I mentioned, maybe some new shooters who are unfamiliar with how to load a magazine, or people who struggle with dexterity and they don't have full use of their hands or their fingers. It's not super cold here at the range today, but if it was cold, loading magazines like hundreds and hundreds of rounds gets pretty annoying after a while. So here I got a pocket full of 115 grain 9mm. I'll simply pull down on the two tabs on the side here, and you'll see that orange follower recesses down into the mag. Now I can literally just hold this round by the tip of the bullet here and drop it right into the magazine. You don't need to like slam it down in there and cram your thumbs into the top of the magazine, get like mag thumb. And although it's a single stack, I really do appreciate these magazines for this little feature alone. So there I got 6, 7, and the last round, which is typically the hardest to load, fits right in there. No issues at all. Now we'll see how this thing does. Already feels pretty good in my hands. You guys probably know that I'm a big M&P fan. I typically shoot them really well. So we'll see if this one follows suit. Super easy. I'm gonna be saying easy a lot throughout this video. I can already tell. Let's see how it does. Oh man. Alright guys, first mag impression time with the 9 Shield Easy. Again, I'm going to apologize for saying easy so much throughout this video, but that's really the best way to describe it, and that's why this thing has that name. Now I guess I will start from the top down with the sights. It's just a 3 white dot setup, really nothing to write home about there. These do seem to be the same footprint as a normal M&P sight, so if you want to swap those out, I believe that some regular M&P sights will fit on here. One thing that I did not mention on the overview is that right up top here, there's actually a loaded chamber indicator, which I can show you guys with my finger there. Since this gun may be directed towards a lot of new shooters, I think that is a great touch to throw on there. It's not personally something that I really look for, but I'm not mad that that's there at all. And then moving down to the rest of the slide, everything on here seems to be fairly normal except for that rear serration like I mentioned. You'll notice that right on the back of the gun here, the serrations look normal like a regular M&P. However, on the very last one here, you have sort of a racking ledge. This would probably work for racking off like a table, a belt, or your boots, something like that. but at the same time it makes it just easier to grasp. I can get my fingers on there nice and securely. I am personally a fan of these M&P serrations. I think they're very effective and they don't really tear off your skin, and this just makes it even easier. This actually reminds me of those plastic blades that you might find on like a HK VP9. I'm not a huge fan of those, and I would actually prefer something like this that is milled into the slide. It also seems like the recoil spring in here was also worked over, because pulling this thing back is just extremely easy to operate. When a gun is brand new out of the box like this one is, that was the first mag right there, typically the slide might be a little bit harder to rack like that, but this one was easy right from the get-go, and I'm sure as I put more rounds through it, it's going to make it even easier. The grip angle on the M&Ps is something that I'm definitely a big fan of. It points very naturally for me. I can find those sights every single time and it just falls right in line. And then when you have the combination of good ergonomics and a nice grip angle, that softer recoil spring in there, shooting this thing is very, very manageable, and I can already tell after just one mag that I could easily put this in a new shooter's hand and they would feel more confident than more of a full-size gun. Speaking of the actual size of this thing, like I mentioned, the barrel length on this is just over the 3.6 inch mark. So of course I did bring out my M&P 3.6 right here. So I'll line these up side by side here, and as you can tell, it almost fills the exact same footprint as the M&P 3.6 inch, although it is single stack. So it's going to be a little bit slimmer. You're not going to have the higher capacity, which is a bummer in my opinion. But other than that round capacity, I don't really think that you are taking much of a compromise when moving to a platform like this. Now when I'm holding my 3.6 in my hand, I can tell that it is almost a full-size gun, but it really is a compact. I can tell that it is double stacked, but then when I compare that to the Shield Easy, this doesn't actually feel like a Shield to me. I actually think I like the way that this feels a little bit more. The grip feels a little bit bigger, which I believe is good for a newer shooter. A lot of times when people are looking at guns for concealed carry, they want to get the absolute smallest package possible. However, that makes it harder to shoot. So I think that the proportions on a gun like this are great. I think it would conceal very easily. It would probably be fairly comfortable as well, because it is a little bit slimmer than a full-size M&P or even the 3.6 inch. But then you still have a little bit longer of a barrel compared to the smaller Shields, unless you're getting like the 4-inch version. You also have an accessory rail under here if you want to run a light, and I think this already has a lot of good things going for it. You also have the grip safety on the back here, and this is one thing that I don't necessarily prefer. However, if it's there, I'm not gonna knock it. I actually like grip safeties on guns that are intended for carry use, because for me, I'm carrying appendix. When I go to reholster this gun, one thing that I do almost every single time, whether there's a grip safety or not, is I pull my thumb off and then I hold it on the back of the slide right here. Now when I do that, this is disengaged, so that trigger will not go off. And that makes this thing much, much safer to reholster. Like I mentioned, you could go with the thumb safety version, however, I prefer my guns without that. Before I start shooting this thing some more, one thing that I will note as a con is that this does not take regular Shield magazines. It seems like these are the only ones that it will take. So if you do have some other magazines lying around, unfortunately, these are going to be the only ones that work with this gun. So that being said, it only shipped with 2 of them. There's going to be a lot of magazine reloading today. I'm glad that they have this little easy loader on the side. I'm gonna start loading these up. We'll go out here, put some more rounds down with this thing, and then I'll come back for my final thoughts. Alright everyone, back for some of my final thoughts on the 9 Shield Easy, and I want to start with this trigger. It seems like every time Smith & Wesson releases a new addition to their M&P line, seems like they improve the trigger, and this one is no different. Now keep in mind that the internals on the Easy are going to be a little bit different than a traditional M&P full size, my 3.6. However, it does feel really nice. So once I compress that grip safety and get that out of the way, you may notice that the shoe of this is one solid piece, so it does not articulate and break with that trigger safety in the middle. It's just a solid piece of polymer, and I'm actually a big fan of this. So I'll lay my finger on the trigger. Nice take up back to that wall, no grit, not springy. It's exactly what you would want it to be. Once you feel that resistance, there is a fairly light pull. Very crisp and clean break on this one. I would say the trigger feels around a maybe 4.5 pound pull. I should really have a gauge to test that, but it does feel like a pretty ideal weight to me. The reset, I'll let out. So I don't know if you could hear that. It's not tactile and audible, so I'll knock it a little bit for that, but I did hear the reset now. I'm sitting right on top of the wall again for another really crisp and clean break. So now this trigger is pretty unique. Given the internals of this gun, you have that really nice crisp and clean break, minimal take up, you can find the wall really easily. Everything about the trigger is good until then, however you don't have a audible or tactile reset. Now this is something that I've never really touched on in a video, but that stuff doesn't really matter all that much, especially once you become a more proficient shooter. If you're using this in a self-defense situation, the way you manipulate that trigger, you're really not feeling the reset. You're not going to hear it or anything like that, but I like to test for that stuff in my videos just to give you guys, viewers, a better understanding of how the trigger may feel to you without you actually having your hands on it. Oftentimes you'll hear me say, yeah, the trigger does have a nice tactile and audible reset. You can hear it, you can feel it in your finger. Sometimes those vary here and there. But in the end, the only thing that really matters in a real world situation, if you're using this thing to protect yourself, your home, your family, your friends, the only thing that really matters is that you are proficient with it, and that take up and break, it's great on this gun, so I'm gonna give that a big thumbs up. Now for my overall final thoughts on this package, I think I ended up liking it a little bit more than I thought I would from the beginning. Yes, it is an M&P. I'm a big fan of Smith & Wesson, and I love pretty much the entire M&P line. However, I not only like this thing for all of its M&P features, a nice grip angle and how the gun feels, how it shoots, but I really like that Smith & Wesson released a gun like this with new shooters in mind, or people who have dexterity or strength issues. Now in the past they did release the M&P Easy, the 380 version, and I sort of shied away from that just because I'm not a big fan of that round. This is the gun that everyone wanted. They wanted that Easy platform, but in a 9mm because it's a more sought after round. You're gonna get better ballistics out of it. Most people around the world are shooting 9 whenever they're training. Government agencies, police departments, a ton of people use it. It's a super common round, so I'm glad that they adapted the platform to shoot a 9, but still have all of the easy functionality. Now what's really great about this gun is that it's going to allow more people who were kind of weary about guns, especially shooting pistols, it's gonna allow them to get into this world that we all enjoy. Now this isn't always the case, but sometimes if you put a fairly standard for most people, if you put a standard pistol in a new shooter's hand, maybe they're not comfortable with racking the slide because it's a little bit too stiff of a recoil spring, or maybe the recoil impulse is scaring them and they're anticipating their shot and they're just really not comfortable out on the range their first time shooting. If someone has a bad experience with shooting from the get-go, there's a good chance that they're not really going to return to that and they're not going to care to. I really wish I had a new shooter out here on the range with me today, or even someone maybe who just isn't that experienced, someone like my girlfriend. Now I do have a few videos of bringing my girlfriend up here to the range. If you want to check out the main one, I'll leave a link for it right up there and in the description down below. And if you watch that, a lot of the things that she was giving me feedback on was the weight of the guns that she was shooting, the awkward positioning of them, sometimes her strength when it came to holding up rifles or being able to rack a slide. A lot of the things that she was experiencing as a new shooter would be almost completely resolved on a platform like this. When I brought this thing home, I handed it to her and I was like, here, check this thing out. And she had no problem pulling back the slide and dropping the mag and accessing all of the controls. Sometimes she actually struggled with loading the magazine, so this made it super easy for her to be able to load a magazine like this. So I not only like this new platform for all of the functionality and the safety features and everything that it has going for it, but I like what it stands for. I think Smith & Wesson did a great job here bringing a platform to the market that is welcoming to new shooters. If I ever bring people out to shoot for their first time, I can guarantee you that this is going to be one of the first pistols that I put in their hand. And not only is it going to be good for new shooters and people with strength deficiencies and dexterity issues, but I can run this gun pretty damn efficiently. Just because the gun has easy functionality doesn't mean that it's a slouch. The sights fall right back on target. It's a super soft shooting gun even though it's a 9mm. It just has a ton of good things going on for it, and I could kind of rant and rave about this thing all day, but I definitely give this thing a big thumbs up, and I think Smith & Wesson did a really good thing with this new platform. So if you guys have any questions on the M&P 9 Shield Easy, let me know in the comments down below. Maybe you have hands-on with one of these. Maybe you let your girlfriend or your wife or a friend of yours who has never shot before, maybe you let them shoot this thing. So if you have any experiences like that, let me know. I'd love to hear from you. I have to give a huge thank you to everyone who supports this channel over on Patreon. If you guys want to see more Sunday Gun Days, I would really appreciate you guys going over there and checking it out. You get videos like this a week early and then a ton of behind-the-scenes stuff, upcoming travel plans, and there's just a whole plethora of information over there that you normally wouldn't see. Now YouTube has been trying to hold us down, pressing their thumb on us even more lately, so if you guys could please leave this video a like. I know a ton of people watch this, don't even watch to the end and end up not liking the video, but that stuff really does matter. So if you could, please leave a like, and if you're new to the channel, also consider clicking subscribe. I do make new videos every week, and that's going to be all for today. So as always, thank you guys for watching. I'll talk to you in the next one.